By the end of this video, you're going to understand how to use this system to manifest anything that you want in life. Now, bear with me, it's going to be maybe a little bit long, but I'll try to make it as straightforward and as simple as possible. If you don't understand something, let me know in the comments and I'll try to re-explain or make a video more in depth into the content that you didn't understand. Now, before we start and I try to explain to you how you can use this, you need to understand that you probably have a lot of paradigms on how things actually work, how this world that we live in works and how it may make things happen into existence. And I'll have to break that for a bit. And I ask you that if you feel that you're being confronted or if you feel like I'm telling you something that you may not 100% agree on, know that everything has multifacets. Everything has a lot of different points of view. This system explains that in a way. So if you don't understand something or if you don't agree 100%, just stick to the end and then for sure, by the end of this video, you have a lot of value. Now, let's start from the beginning. Who the heck came up with this? Well, the thing is, this predates our simulation. Yes, you heard that right. We are not living in a random organic world or something like that. We are living in a computer program, in a game or in a movie or whatever you want to call it. This thing was programmed into existence. And this right here is the blueprint on how things should work. So you will find the system in many places. But the thing is, some cultures were the guardians of it. They shaped it a little bit different. Through the ages, it evolved. That's the thing as well. It was not from the beginning like that, but it evolves with time. Now, if you go through the historical way, you may find that the Egyptians were one of the first that were using a system like this one, which then came to the hands of the Jewish people, came to the hands of the Greek, the hands of the people from Ethiopia, from the Vedas, whatever. A lot of people have some idea of this blueprint or the system working in a way. And the name of the symbol right here, it can be called the Tree of Life, right? That's the common name that you may find out there. Now, understand that this system, where we call it the Tree of Life, it can be applied into different systems if you understand them correctly. So maybe in the Nordics, you have something a little bit similar, but maybe in another culture, you have something which seems completely different. But if you really dig into it, you'll find all the similarities in how it works. Now, from now on, I'll call this the Kabbalah. Now, I'll put it into the video right there, the way I write it, the not correct way, but the way that you can write to bring the most value out of it. Know that everything you write has some kind of energy, and by the way you write, by the letters you use, you're going to make it happen or make it change a little bit. That's why your name is so important, because if you know its origins, its etymology, you know the powers you have, right? Nothing is a coincidence. Everything has a little bit of programming into it. Now, that being said, the Kabbalah is the technology of the soul. This is how we can understand how to manipulate our existence here. Know that there's no such thing as destiny in the sense that nothing can be changed. You are for sure going to go through something. No. Remember, this is a video game. You may have the main quest, you may have something you agreed on when you came here, but the thing is, everything can be changed, everything can be manipulated. And it's just up to us to understand how the rules work, how the systems work, and go about that. Now, let me get a bit into the specifics of how this game works. Just like any normal game or movie, it runs frame by frame. So everything you see, it's moving, but it's moving in specific frames. Just like a movie, it's not that you have a video somewhere. The video is just a lot of images superimposed into each other and shown with enough velocity that it seems like it's moving. And that's how our reality also works. And the thing is, everything is information. So when you're smelling something, when you're seeing something, touching, whatever sense you're using, you're basically exchanging information. You're getting the information of where that thing is or how it smells and whatever it is, that sense that you're using. And we have major 24 frequencies that we can use. Now, when we are speaking, most countries use something called the alphabet, which is comprised only of two frequencies, the alpha and the beta. And that's how, if you don't know the other 22 frequencies, people can just say something to you and you literally won't understand. So that may happen with this video right here. So I advise you to rewatch it if you don't understand, or watch it after studying it a little bit more through a couple weeks, so that you know that what I'm talking here has multiple levels, just not something from the face value that you can understand right off the bat. Now, that being said, I cannot show you all the 24 frequencies right now, but I can show you a little bit of the dynamics. And that will tap into how we can use this system right here to manifest things. One thing to understand is that we can use two ways to manipulate things. We can manipulate things through what people can call particles, or the analogical part of life. And we can manipulate things using the waves, or the digital part of life. It's the same as when you're taking a pill. When you're taking a pill, you're taking the analogical information that something should cure you, some certain chemicals should cure you, or you can just straight out use your mind to try and do this yourself. Now, most people don't have the mind power to effectively use it to cure themselves, for example, but just know that it can be done. And with enough practice, it's up to you if you want to do something using the analogical way or the digital way. It really doesn't matter. And I'm making this distinction so that you also understand that spirituality, occult, esotericism, all these kinds of things are basically technology that is not yet understood. That's why I'm calling it a digital thing. So if you take, for example, the fact that you're watching something that was created in the past and you're watching it remotely, right? You're basically just doing remote viewing and you're seeing the past, you're going to the past. Now, if you said that you're doing this in a couple of years before, people would either call you crazy or call you, like, that you're saying bollocks, or they were going to try and kill you for saying something like that. But the thing is, the more we progress with technology, the more we understand that spirituality, again, it's just a matter of how technological we are, how we understand something. When we start to understand it, we call technology. And when we are still not understanding it, we call it spirituality. The next thing to understand here is the controllers, right? If this is a game, how do we control our character? Well, we have 3 or 4 main parts. We have the body, right? What we are using here, this flesh carcass. We have the mind or the soul, which work together, and the spirit. Now, the body would be basically your hardware, right? It stores information in a magnetic way, kind of like a hard drive, and it just basically is this flesh robot we can use to move. The thing is, the body itself doesn't move. The one who's moving is our mind. It is by doing the thinking of I want to go there, that in the next frame, remember this is running frame by frame, the next frame our body gets transported to the location. But we are doing that with the mind. The body itself is just a robot following information. And it's just like a placeholder for our mind to be somewhere. Now, this is the body, right? Or hardware. The mind would be the software. It would be the reason, the logic, and the emotion at the same time. So it's kind of like a bit of our brains working together, right? I'll get more into the soul. Now, the spirit is going to be God's spiraling down into us. You see, that's already in the name. If you get the name spirit, right? It's spiral in a diminutive form. It's spiraling down into us. So the spirit, its only role is basically being an observer. So it's observing how we do things. It's sometimes giving us a little bit of information, but the thing is, we are mostly going to tap into it and not really use it in some way. We are just ascending to it. And the soul, it's highly related to our capacity to imagine. So when we are imagining things, that's really the magic of things. So you see, it's already in the name, magic, imagination, images in action. We are putting images into action, which then drives our mind to filter that through our reason and emotions, which then lets us, our body, to do things, to make something happen in the real life, right? So everything comes from above and then it's manifested here. That's how this blueprint is going to be used. Now, if it's still not clear how our imagination can do anything, how it's important in any way, let's do a thought experiment real quick, and then I'll show you how we can use this blueprint. Now, I can ask you to think, for example, of an apple, right? You can think of an apple, you can maybe see it, you can maybe touch it or taste it, smell it. You can hear the sound of you chewing it, right? You can have a lot of senses happening right there. And the more you concentrate, the more, let's say, you focus on those feelings, those sensations, the more real it gets, to the point where if you have enough will to go and get an apple, this thought will make you go and get a real apple that you can taste with your body, right? The thing is, this imaginative apple is just as real as the apple that you're chewing, that you're biting in real life. Your brain really doesn't know the difference. That's how dreams can make you go and feel like you're falling, or feel like you heard something and things like that. You have that kind of para sense that it's outside of your body, because again, things start from here to go here. I'll explain a little bit more in a second. Now, when I asked you to think of something that you know in real life, like an apple, that was probably pretty easy. I'm going to make you think of something a little bit different right now. I'll ask you to think of a feeling. So it could be the feeling of happiness, for example. If you try and close your eyes and think of the feeling of happiness, what comes? What can you see? What can you touch? What can you smell? It's going to be probably not that well defined. It's not going to have that definition, because really you don't stop and think about these things. But the more you concentrate on a vision, on a specific vision, for example, my definition of happiness for now is me on the dining table having a big lasagna, pretty tasty. I can smell it, I can see it, I can taste it into my mouth. There's a lot of people in the room with me, it's mainly my family, friends, and people like that I love, right? And all those people, all the situation together, when I think of it, when I imagine it, I literally get happy at the same moment. So the more you train, the more you can do that, right? And remember, everything that you are imagining eventually drives you to do things in real life. And that's how we are going to use this big guy right here to manifest things. So let's understand. When you are imagining, you're accessing that energy right here, right? The first sphere that we have. I'll get a new color so that you see where I'm going. Now here, we are only working with the imagination. So there's nothing really that you can touch, you can see, right? With your real eyes. It's only imagination for now. But it's the first step. You cannot do anything if you don't first think of it. That's why it doesn't matter if you like it or not, if you know it or not, you are already using the system to manifest things. I'm just here to explain to you how to better use it, how to use it in a way which is more efficient. Now, you thought of something, and the first idea that you need is the visualization of things. So you have to see, you have to be able to see something so that it becomes real at some point, right? That's the first step. And here, I'll probably put some colors into the editing. Here is all the colors that we have. Here is in color, so it's kind of like a crystal, it doesn't have any color yet. Here we have all the colors, right? So it's basically like a prism, just like something you would see on this guy right here. So you have the in color coming and driving all the colors. Now, when you have all the colors, remember, here you had the idea of something. Here you saw it, and here you are going to listen to it or to make yourself available to speak it, right? Here's the visualization, and here are you doing it by verbalizing, by saying what you want to do, or by hearing it happening, okay? This, I'll go to add into the editing, is the black. So it's basically all the colors, but in a denser frequency. Now, if we continue, we went from here to here to here. Now you're going to go through a portal. This portal right here is where you write about what you're going to do. Okay, so this would be the white part. This would be all the colors, but in high frequency. And it's a portal because if it doesn't come to here, it never gets manifested. Okay, so here you're going to write it. Better if you can write it with paper and a pencil. Okay, those are better, let's say, conductors of energy. But honestly, all that we are doing here is, again, using the particle way, the analogical way. You can do, and you probably did this already in the past, this whole system just with your mind, and it is enough. But by doing it analogical, we are kind of training our mind to be able to do it more efficiently. Okay? So again, we thought of something, we saw it, we spoke about it, we heard it. Now we write it into preferably a paper and a pencil. Next step is to know the pros of doing this. So you're going to note down, either with the paper or in your head, what are the pros of doing this? How can I make this happen, and how will this make me happy? Okay, so it could be, for example, if you want to buy a car, okay, the pros are I can go places, I will have more status if it's a good car, or this one is cheaper, or whatever it is, right? You're going to list down all the pros of having this happen. Okay, now again, if you cannot think of any pros, probably it's not a good idea to begin with. If you cannot think of something good out of it, then what the heck are you doing? Next step is here, where we are going to think of all the cons of doing it. So again, if you think of buying a car, like an expensive car, and the cons are, well, you're going to get into debt, probably your wife is going to leave you, or you're not going to have money to eat, or something like that, you're going to see that quickly it shouldn't be like a good idea to do this, because you see that the cons outweigh the pros. Now, if that happens, again, the energy just flows back and it's all good. Everything's conserved. Okay, don't go past it if the cons outweigh the pros. If they don't, so you planned everything, you understood, okay, there's some cons there, but it's workable. That's what you're going to do in the next step. Here, you're going to see the beauty of what you're creating. You're going to basically try and harmonize the cons. So let's say if maybe the cons of having a nice car are, well, I'm not going to have enough money, but if it's doable, the idea, and you know that you can maybe work a little bit more to get that money, then okay, you are balancing out that problem. Or if you say, for example, oh, my wife is going to leave me, but you don't like her anyway, then, well, you can balance that out. Okay, so here you're going to perceive the beauty of what you're doing. You're going to try and harmonize it. If we continue here we are going to win. We are going to have our victory by the silence. So we are going to be silent about it. If you want to do something, don't go straight out to the streets and talking to everyone about it. If you have like a big plan, don't go in straight and talk to your family, talk to everyone. Be silent about it. You know, the more people are invested into something, the more they are doing their part into this blueprint as well, and they can affect it. So if you don't have enough power, then you're just not going to have the thing happening because you didn't shut up. So shut up. Don't talk to people about your stuff. Now, continuing. Here, we are going to bring a little bit of logic to things. This would be a good idea if you're having a business, for example, business idea. This would be here the part where you create a contract for it. You can even create a contract for yourself. Let's say if you are going to buy a car, you can create the contract saying, okay, I want this model of car, I want to pay this much, I want it to come in this date, and so on and so on. So you literally make a contract, or you go and reason it out a little bit more, the idea. Okay, but I would advise you, if you can, to make a contract here. Now, continuing. Here, you're going to ask you a question, which is, do you really deserve what you're asking? And this is where most people will think, I actually don't deserve it. And then the energy is just going to flow again to the beginning. So you have to have this in your mind really straightforward. Do I deserve this or not? and you have to feel it. Something I didn't talk about, which is important as well, is when you're doing all of this, right, you're not just doing something out of habit. You're not just writing it down just like a chore or something. You're putting all your energy, all your emotion, your reason, everything that you have into doing this so that it can come to fruition. The more energy you put, the fastest and the better things come, okay? Now, if you went through this part right here, which is asking yourself, am I worth it? Do I deserve this thing that I'm asking? Congrats, you just came to the end, to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, okay? And this is where everything will be materialized. Now, don't get it twisted here. If you just did all of this and you think that things are going to literally magically pop out into at your front, well, thing is, you probably don't have enough power to do this. If you had, it could happen. There are people that were able to do this, literally materialize things from their head, from their hand, and so on. But you don't need to worry about this right now. It's not like a huge thing for you. Just focus on having the system good enough in your head, have it become a habit, have it become something that you're aware of, and that you know if something is not coming, it's probably because you're not working one of these spheres in the correct way. Okay? Now, this is it for this video. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments if you want to hear more about something about the systems, because this thing right here is the Kabbalah, right? It's the Tree of Life. But it also talks about the tarot. It also talks about astrology. It also talks about numerology, all this sorts of esoteric, spiritual stuff, which again are just digital experiences we can have, digital technology, okay? Also know that if you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, you can follow me on Twitter, which I post more frequently, or you can DM me, we can talk about, maybe I can help you out, teach you a bit of stuff. Or even if you want some services like a tarot reading, an astrology reading, or anything related to these kind of topics, just let me know, we can work out something. I would be happy to help.